The Kicking Horse Pass, more than a mile above sea level at 1,627 meters, is a high mountain pass in the Canadian Rockies. It's the point where the Canadian Pacific Railway and the Trans-Canada Highway cross the continental divide between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Alberta lies to the east, and British Columbia to the west, where the Kicking Horse River descends steeply through a rugged canyon to emerge at the town of Golden. The pass, the river, and the canyon received their names after James Hector, a naturalist, geologist, and surgeon, was kicked and knocked unconscious by a pack horse during the Palliser expedition led by Captain John Palliser to first explore and survey the pass in 1858. The main line of the CPR was built through this pass a quarter century later. How important was the railway back then? It was so important that British Columbia agreed to join Confederation and become part of Canada in 1871 on the promise by Prime Minister Sir John A. Macdonald that there would be a railway connection across the mountains to the Pacific Ocean, the Canadian Pacific Railway. On November 7, 1885, that promise was fulfilled when the last spike was driven at Craigellachie, west of Revelstoke, by CPR Director Sir Donald Smith. The town of Golden was originally a railway camp. Railway brought commerce and people, and tourists started coming in the early 1900s to hike and explore the mountains. As time went on, cars became more and more popular. When the road between Golden and Field opened in 1927, people had a big party. Of course, the railway was still important for moving people and goods, and it remains an essential part of Canada's transportation system today. In the early 1900s, people were already calling for a national road across Canada. In 1949, the Trans-Canada Highway Act provided millions of dollars in cost-shared funding for provincial governments. Quite a few Golden residents worked on building the section of the Trans-Canada Highway through the Kicking Horse Canyon, including the 5-mile and 10-mile bridges. One of them, Bob Syme, remembers there were no flag people, but then there weren't too many cars on the road and no freight trucks in those days either. He worked on the original Park Bridge beginning in 1951. Back then, they only had a bridge truck with a winch and a power shovel for loading gravel onto trucks and digging ditches. It wasn't until July 30th, 1962, however, that the 7,821-kilometer Trans-Canada Highway was formally opened at Rogers Pass, 80 kilometers west of here. Next year will be the 50th anniversary of the Trans-Canada Highway. Like the National Railway, the National Highway became an essential transportation link connecting British Columbia to the rest of Canada. Traffic increased, especially commercial transport traffic, and the rugged section of highway through the Kicking Horse Canyon was breathtaking for more than just the spectacular beauty of its surroundings. It was also one of the most challenging to drive through. It became known as being one of the highest rockfall hazard areas in British Columbia. The accident rate was double the provincial average. The two-lane highway was often closed due to avalanches, accidents, and other unpredictable factors, including wildlife, one of the top 3 contributing factors to accidents in this province. So planning started in the late 1990s to improve safety, reliability, and the efficiency of the route. Upgrading the highway includes widening, straightening, and leveling 26 kilometers of roadway, replacing old bridges, stabilizing slopes, and implementing new hazard protection measures, and protecting wildlife with overpasses, underpasses, ungulate guards, and fences. It's a big job, requiring an investment of more than $950 million, so it's being carried out in a series of phases. The work began with the removal of about 10,000 truckloads of rock at 6 Mile Hill, a little east of the Yoho or 5-mile bridge. After that, the old bridge, built in the 1950s, was replaced with a new 4-lane Yoho Bridge, which was opened to traffic in 2004. The job also included the construction of a rock protection wall, 500 meters long, 14 meters high at the apex, big and strong enough to catch and hold a rock the size of a small car. And a stretch of highway just over 3 kilometers long was realigned and widened to 4 lanes. It was an award-winning job. The Y-shaped delta frames on the tops of the piers were a special innovation that allowed the bridge to span the river and the railway with a smaller number of piers. And this design was also more economical and had less environmental impact. The Yoho Bridge design team received an Award of Excellence from the Consulting Engineers of BC in 2004. An innovative cantilever structure over a river bend to the east eliminated the need and impact of two separate bridges planned for that location, and also reduced the cost there. The 155-meter-long cast-in-place concrete structure didn't require support columns driven down into the bed of the river. Instead, a weighted and reinforced cantilever built into the canyon wall supports a span extending out nearly 4.5 meters from the wall. This unique structure won 2 Connie Awards from BC's concrete industry, and was also recognized as a key component of the overall project's innovative nature when the project team received the Premier's Award for Innovation. In the next phase, the old 10-mile bridge was replaced, and nearly 6 kilometers of 2-lane roadway was upgraded to a modern 4-lane divided highway standard. Easier said than done, as the process involved carving out a huge part of a mountain, and using some techniques that hadn't been used before in building a curved bridge. The Park Bridge is 90 meters high, 400 meters long, and 23 meters wide. And after the piers were built, the girders were launched as a continuous frame from the west end to the east end using massive hydraulic rams. When it came to the earthworks, crews moved about 3 million cubic meters of material. That's enough to fill a line of trucks stretching from Vancouver to Regina. More than a third of that material was put down beside the highway east of the brake check. There it became part of the roadbed for the next phase of work and saved millions in construction costs. And finally, as a finishing touch, a new rest area was completed with an interpretive trail leading to the location of the former bridge. This was the first provincial highway construction project completed as a design, build, finance, operate contract in British Columbia. That's an arrangement where the province remains the owner, but has partnered with the private sector to come up with the design, financing, and construction, as well as now the day-to-day operations and maintenance of the highway. The bridge structure has won honors from the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction for its shape, integration with the environment, and method of girder launching. Oh, and while the job took a little longer than it takes to watch this time-lapse video, it was completed 21 months ahead of schedule. The current third phase is a two-pronged approach: the eastern section from the brake check to Yoho National Park, and the portion from Golden Hill to the portal, or entrance to the canyon. Construction on Phase 3 East began in October 2008 and is nearly finished. Completed improvements include 4 lanes with concrete median barrier, a new crossing of Mount Hunter Creek, an overpass arrangement at Wapta Beaverfoot Road, and widened shoulders to accommodate cyclists. With the opening of these highway improvements to traffic last fall, there are now 18 continuous kilometers of safe, reliable, and modern highway through some of the most difficult terrain in the province, doubling what was previously completed in phases 1 and 2. The last pieces to finish on this section are the 2 wildlife overpasses, fencing, and the replacement of some vegetation. Preliminary work for Phase 3 West, involving the construction of a 4th-lane extension on Golden Hill, began in May 2009, and the lane opened to traffic 5 months later. The rest of the work began the following year. It includes making Golden Hill less steep, more 4-laning, and an overpass at Golden Donald Upper Road just outside the Visitor Information Center. Key features on this 4-kilometer section include cycling and pedestrian improvements and wildlife protection. The top 3 contributing factors to highway crashes in British Columbia are wild animals, driver inattention, and unsafe speed. The Kicking Horse Canyon project aims to reduce the number of accidents related to wildlife. Fencing is being installed along Golden Hill and the entire section from Brake Check to the west gate of Yoho National Park. Also, on the access roads, ungulate guards, sometimes called cattle guards or Texas gates, will keep the bighorn sheep, mountain goats, and elk from getting onto the highway. And those that do manage to find a way onto the highway corridor will be able to escape at one-way jump-outs and gates. It's also important for the animals to get across the highway at some points, so there are 2 wildlife overpasses toward Yoho National Park and a special underpass underneath Mount Hunter Creek Bridge. An overpass near the canyon entrance will provide a safe crossing for animals on the hill to portal section. The reliability of the highway is important. Even with the recent roadway improvements, unexpected closures can occur, whether it be local residents heading home, tourists going to their next destination, or commercial truckers carrying perishable goods. Knowing the condition of the highway helps in travel planning and provides peace of mind. So the Kicking Horse Canyon project includes the installation of new electronic signs as part of an intelligent transportation system. Changeable message signs will allow custom notifications to be posted, while variable message signs will confirm the passability of the highway. The improvements to Golden Hill have provided a real opportunity to enhance the local trail system and improve conditions for both pedestrians and cyclists. These improvements include a place for cyclists to catch their breath on the way up the hill, and a new viewpoint overlooking the town of Golden. Despite all the progress, there's still lots of work ahead. The future includes improvements where Highway 95 meets the Trans-Canada Highway at the entrance to Golden. But the hardest part of them all will be the rugged canyon section. Just a little more than 4 kilometers long, it will cost almost twice as much as all of the other pieces combined. Design is proceeding on a route that would include side-by-side 340-meter and 210-meter tunnels, about 6 hazard protection sheds, and up to 12 bridges. Part of the significant challenge is designing the route so it can be built and made operational in stages, like the rest of the project. There's much more to the story of the Kicking Horse Canyon project, and there's lots of information on the project's website. Just visit kickinghorsecanyon.ca.